Here and there, we always try to get the area poets who are in the book. We invited Judy Ortiz-Cofer, but she had a conflict. The most conspicuous absence, of course, is Barbara Hamby. When Barbara's mother turned 82 4 years ago, she dyed her hair, told people she was 72, and started applying for jobs. Last week, she went into her job at the Naval Exchange in Honolulu to pick up a Employee Service Award. She came home and lay down to rest before her shift started, and she didn't wake up. So Barbara is there now burying her mom and settling her estate. So for Barbara and for Clara Hamby, I'm going to read a poem by Barbara called Ode on My Mother's Handwriting. And I can see some of these people out here. Ellen Boyd, I don't think Kurt Brown, youngsters like that would understand, but maybe some of you older people would remember what the Palmer method is. You remember the Palmer method? There was a point in our educational system where you would get a booklet with a capital A and a little a. Everybody's nodding, good of the people who did it. A capital B and a little b, and there were lines underneath it, and you would trace them, and you would write those out. And so everybody had the same handwriting, but of course it was beautiful handwriting. And so that's the technology behind this poem. Ode on My Mother's Handwriting. Her A's are like small rolls warm from the oven, yeasty, fragrant, one identical to the other, molded by a master baker, serious about her craft, but comical too. Smudge of flour on her sharp nose, laughing with her workers, urging them to eat, 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 but demanding the most gorgeous cakes in Christendom. Her bees are upright as soldiers trained by harsh sergeants, whose invective seems cruel in the bower of one's own country, but becomes hot gruel and a wool coat during January on the steppes outside Moscow. Would that every infant could nestle in the warm crook of her C's, taste the sweet milk of her D's, hear the satiny coos of her nonsense whisperings, making the three-pronged razor of her E easier to take. The bad girl, I'm ashamed of you, disappointed, hateful, shame, shame, shame. The blistering fury of her F, less like the sharpened rapier of a paid assassin, left only with the desire to be good, to be ushered again into the glittering palace of her good graces. For her G's are great and fail not, their mercy is everlasting. The house of her H is a plain building. It has no pediments or Palladian windows, but brick walls, sturdy and indestructible. Oh, the mighty storms that rage cannot tear down these thick walls or alter their sturdy heart, but her windows are small. She does not like to look out, shuts her eyes, for the world is cold while her fire is warm. She is a household god, jumped up on Jesus, Jeremiah, Job, all the Old Testament scalawags and their raving pomaded televangelist progeny, yet her K's know how to kick up their heels, laugh at you and with you, whip up a Christmas. Dickens would envy, kiss your eyelids as you drift off to sleep, though no one can know the loneliness of her L, a forlorn obelisk in the desert, hard and bitterly cold in the heat of the sun. Other M's are soft and round, but not hers. The answer to every supplication is no. N-O spells no, which in a way is comforting because you know where you stand, where your please, pretty please begins, and how far those P's must climb before meeting her most serene and imperial Q's, regular, rigid, redoubtable. For the dark wind of her S's can be like the desert simoon, hot and dry. You could die of thirst, your throat taut as a tent pole holding up your bones and their tatters of flesh. But for her hurricane of words, blowing roofs off houses, lavishing water on an arid world, unleashing slaps, hugs, prayers on the long, ungainly hours that separate us like the spaces between her lines, the waves of her U's, slices of her V's, vivisecting each moment with the X-ray of her ecclesiastical gaze. What is her X? A kiss or a rebuke? Both. Her lips, sweet as the nectar bees, sucked from flowers, cruel as their sting. So why am I still her acolyte, her disciple, her most obstreperous slave? Because in the curve of her Z is my Zen master, my beginning and my end. How I have felt the 5 fingers of her one hand, seen her hair, once chestnut, turn white as a seraph's wings, heard her high naked voice combust with love's bitter perfume, sat down at her Puritan table and feasted on her wild blue eyes like rustling cornflakes in the dark, mutinous grass of the past. That's Ode to My Mother's Handwriting from Babel by Barbara Haming. You can also find it on the internet. Well, you're looking at the